Good afternoon again. We'd like to thank you for joining us in terms of Democracy Works for this Democracy Defenders Dialogue. We are grateful to have such an accomplished panel of speakers to help us make sense of these issues, and perhaps that will be able to shed light around some of the challenges that we're facing.
It definitely is the most difficult moment in post-apartheid South Africa. We have never been as divided as we are. And we have never seen the rampant opportunism that we currently do, or the rampant enrichment that is currently occurring in our society of ethnic and racial entrepreneurship. But as we've also seen in this moment of polarity, these democracy defenders are under attack. We have seen more journalists killed around the world in the last year than in a long while. We're seeing whistleblowers being killed in multiple settings. We're seeing activists and journalists being attacked. And so it is fundamentally important that we come to the aid of democracy defenders. But I do want to say that we do need to defend democracy defenders. We do need to remember that an activism is important. But we do also need to remember the two other things that goes with an activism: a thoughtfulness in how to advance that agenda, and a commitment to economic inclusion as much as we commit to political democracy itself.
Just in terms of what constitutes a healthy democracy and the notion of democracy defender, who is included or not? Prof Habib had just spoken to the dynamism of that term. What role do they play in making democracy work? And just lastly, what impact did the Gupta leaks have on the South African landscape? And do you think it was a turning point?
Our democracy clearly is in a crisis. The ANC, as the governing party that has been at the center for the last 100 years of the political life of the majority of South Africans for over a generation, is now collapsing. And the uncertainty that it creates created jockeying for power, jockeying for what would be the new center. I think that ordinary South Africans are so paralyzed now that many are deciding, well, they're so paralyzed with a wave of corruption, with the state's failure itself, that many don't want to be involved anymore. Where people initially, where they think the Democrat will automatically and magically will come and defend the democracy, the institutions, and the values. And maybe what has been missing is ordinary citizens becoming more active. And maybe the crisis that we are seeing now, if it does nothing else, is that it's woken up South Africans, is a democracy is not full unless the ordinary citizens are actually part of the democracy. And ordinary citizens are actually seeing themselves as democracy defenders in whatever spaces they are. I mean, this is the moment. If we miss this moment, it would be a failed state, which will take generations to recover.
This new generation of whistleblower is very specific. They are ordinary citizens who live sometimes against their own will, extraordinary destiny. And because of their heroic attitude, because they accept to consider that their consciousness prevail at their own risk, on their personal interest, they become before our eyes the best ally of democracy, and the best ally of rule of law, not only in South Africa, but all over the world, who will become, for the majority of the planet, saints, heroes, and for the minority, those who represent the cynicism and the greed, traitor and criminal. So that protection demands imagination. Their protection demands new legal tools and new legal expertise, because this new generation of whistleblowers have to face new type of intimidation, new type of persecution. And this is our collective duty to consider that our purpose must now to protect by all means whistleblowers, not only in South Africa, but of course in all the world.
I think this also leads to a question for Advocate Madonsela. We spoke about the creativity of the way in which you were able to interpret the law to produce the reports that you did. But in your experience as public protector, what challenges were whistleblowers confronted with? What was the role that your office played to protect them in handling these matters? And what challenges did you personally experience in trying to investigate these complaints, noting the fact that we do have an institution that's tasked with investigating matters of this nature?
The greatest challenge for whistleblowers is the fact that it is a lonely journey. But defending and deepening democracy must be done by the sovereigns. And the sovereigns are the people. Because if we don't get the people to defend democracy, we allow the wrongdoers to isolate us, to call us clever blacks, to call us white monopoly capitalist defenders. The other problem is that in our language, in English, we have the word whistleblower, which connotes somebody who blows the whistle against wrongdoing. In my language, which is Swazi, it's Indindi. And that really connotes the one who collaborates with the wrong people to treat badly the good people. And then the whistleblower, then nobody wants to be in Indindi. And that's it. So those are basically the kinds of difficulties that experience. It's the financial thing, the isolation, but also the social stigma around it.